acquiring more and more knowledge by Kenyans. Thank you.
Thank you, Moses. His other nickname is Baba Waroma. And he's usually very eloquent. So in Kiluya we say, this man speaks too much Lusungo. Yeah, members of the education fraternity who are here, first of all, let me just join my remarks to those of Wetangula and Professor Munavo and the others to say we really appreciate those of you who are able to put us together today to be able to have this conversation. We really salute you because education is a very, very critical sector. And if we get it right there, we are likely to get many other things correct as we move forward. There are a few things that I just want to highlight. One is that we must continue to invest in education. There is this famous quotation where they say, if you think education is expensive, try ignorance. So, as a commitment, as Kenya Kwanza, we will continue to focus and we shall improve on the utilization of resources so that our children, who are the bedrock of what we want to achieve, whether industrialization or whatever, that they are properly educated at all times. This is absolutely critical. Listening to Madam Amolo here and others, we have also seen what the cost of lack of dialogue can do. When a leadership becomes detached from the people, when a leadership thinks that every message must be through a trickle-down process, the consequences can be severe. I stand here as one of the people, jointly with the Wetangula and indeed our Deputy President, who is our flag bearer for Kenya Kwanza, to speak to one thing. When we were talking about or building up towards the the current constitution, 2010 constitution, in Naivasha, we were among the three proponents who really fought to make sure that the Teacher Service Commission becomes a constitutional commission, so that it can have independence and can be embedded in our laws, so that the welfare of teachers can be guaranteed at all times. And it was being pushed by NAT to make sure that we have it as a constitutional entity. Because at that time there was the debate that Teacher Service Commission should actually be dismantled, so that since we are embracing devolution, every county can then find a way of dealing with the employment of its teachers in the county. And we realized that that would have been extremely difficult under the circumstances that we were in. So we fought and we stood for the entrenchment of the Teacher Service Commission in the Constitution. Little did we know that some have thought that it was a license to suppress the teachers. Because it seems that is the tag that they now have. We shall correct it from the 9th of August this year. There is nobody who has driven this point home better than the lady who has spoken here. If there is anybody who is watching, because I think this thing is so important the Deputy President programmed that it must be streamed live so that people can understand what is going on here. If anybody has been watching and listening and you are not touched by the testimony that we have seen here, then you must be extremely inhuman and you must be of a different race, because the issues are very touchy. We need also in the education to make sure that we strengthen the partnership, because I am also a strong proponent of the private sector, and that is what Kenya Kwanza also stands for, that we must build a strong partnership between the public sector and the private sector. After all, you are producing talent for also the private sector. So we would look at incentives. For instance, if there are internships, we can create incentives through taxation. If Safaricom or Kenya Breweries or any other organization can guarantee that they are doing so much in terms of internship every year, this can be factored in and it can be converted into a tax benefit so that we can have more employers taking up other people for internships. These are issues that we can revisit and we can develop as policy working together. Finally, so that I don't take too long, I just want to re-emphasize that when Kibaki took over, he came out with his 2030 vision. That was around, he took over in 2002. Now we are in 2022. So effectively, that vision has got a shelf life, in theory, of only 8 years, and it's done. Now, as we talk about the education and the program, beyond this forum today, I think we should start thinking seriously about a 2060 vision, or even beyond, incorporating the views that you have made and taking into account what you have talked about, the emphasis around the Skills Council, Everybody has really emphasized on this. We can start working on this basis and look futuristic and be futuristic so that we start preparing for that great movement that we want to be able to achieve in terms of job creation, in terms of technology and innovation. So, ladies and gentlemen, this has been an extremely important gathering. Yesterday, the DP led us into a conversation with the people with disabilities, which partly were touched on here, that we have not focused a lot around there. We also realized that we are on a learning curve in terms of the special needs of our country. So bringing all this together in the final policy documents that we shall have will really show a commitment from Kenya Kwanza that we want to be a government, and we shall be a government that listens, that dialogues, and then implements. That is what we want to do. So before I sit, Sosion, you are recognized as somebody who has suffered the vagaries of a certain institution. Maybe this is a consolation moment. You may want to say something before I call the Deputy President.
Yeah, indeed, I've not suffered. I paid the price of speaking the truth, which is a fruition today that we have renaissance in education, Your Excellency the 5th, of reopening for dialogue. Your Excellency, sir, and together with the leadership of the various parties, this is a turning point in the history of education in this country. I'm saying so because Professor Paulo Freire, in his book, Democracy and Education, he defined education in another aspect, that education is dialogue. And when we conduct education in the process of dialogue in this way, we will never go wrong. I wish to remind everybody that Kenya, for the last couple of years, has been number one at the top in terms of global competitiveness in education, both in quality and access. But because of these reforms that are not negotiated, we are now at number 7. I want to tell all Kenyans, particularly teachers, and I can see KUPPET are here. I know they are here. Members of KUPPET, if you can wave a bit. Members of KUPPET, if you can wave a bit, they are here. Don't be intimidated. Members of NAT, if you are here, yes, and all of them are here. So the way to go is dialogue. And if we are at number 7, we can come back up to number 1 from this beginning. Your Excellency, we want to wish you well. And I would not wish to talk a lot. Everything has been discussed through this entire process, and the rest of the business will be during 9th of August. Once we elect you as the 5th president, I want to believe you are going to support the entire education system through this process of consultation, not just stakeholders consultation, but public participation and consultation in education for the public good. I've liked the commitment you've given even with the CBC, that then in line with UNESCO recommendations, you are going to allow further consultation, and I think that is the best thing to do. And once that is done, we will get it right. We wish you well, and I now want to appeal to all teachers in the country. You have no reason not to vote William Samoei Ruto as the 5th President of the Republic of Kenya. And by that statement, there is nothing wrong. If we as teachers who are progressive, those in the classrooms, and who believe in a good future, we have a God-given opportunity. The way we had with Kibaki, another Kibaki has come in the name of William Samoei Ruto. And therefore, without fear, let us campaign for Kenya Kwanza and its presidential candidate, and I'm sure through this process, we will run education system in a better way. Thank you, and may God bless all of us.
Yeah. Thank you. Just before the Deputy President comes forward, Indimuli talked a lot about capitation, and to 60 billion. Did I read right? 60 billion of the capitation funds. She cannot access that detail to have a proper audit and to know whether the resources have been used properly or not. It speaks volumes about the need for us to become more accountable and transparent in our dealings. Mr. Deputy President, the floor is yours. Ladies and gentlemen, can we rise up briefly and welcome the Deputy President to make his remarks.
Asante sana. Thank you very much, my brother Musalia Mudavadi. Let's take our seats. First, let me take this opportunity to thank Professor Munavu, who was the chair of this education subsector, and they have worked tirelessly, I think for the last almost 4 months. They've been at this education subject. Professor Nkanya, my good brother Sosion, and all the other people who have participated. Professor Nguru, who is, I don't know whether he's here, but he is